Good morning. This is Bill from Autohaus of Naples on it's a somewhat muggy, misty Florida Friday morning. Gone is the lovely, cool, crisp, non-humid air that we had for a few days. Back in its place is this moist, humid, horrible morning that brings out all the insects in fine form. And of course, when they come out, so do the birds swooping around, God knows, looking at you from up high, ready to pounce at any given moment. Here in Peter's yard, there's always the risk of animals of some kind. The goats, the chickens, the roosters, obviously the birds. I see deers and raccoons when I drive down the street. So, frankly, I walk around with eyes in the back of my head when I'm around here. And anyway, we'll just leave that alone for the moment. I have this 2019 MINI Cooper S hatchback. It's a two-door hatch. It's a hot hatch, if you will. That's the genre. This is the third generation of MINI Cooper since being built by BMW in 2001. And frankly, probably one of the best look. Well, you know what? The first one that came out was a revelation. It was probably the finest of the retro cars that were very hot around that time. You know, your Beetles, your PT Cruisers, that sort of thing, the Challengers, Chargers. The Mini kind of hit the ball out of the park more than about any of them in terms of design, and they really did create quite a brand out of something that was, just kind of hanging out. One thing a lot of people don't know is Mini was in continuous production since the original Mini Cooper, the Austin Mini, in the late 50s. It was made, that design, all the way through 2000, and then BMW took over. They actually bought them earlier, but the 01 Mini was a continuation of that, but now all built by BMW instead of essentially a British car. We can get into that controversy in a minute. It was designed by a guy named Sir Alec Isigonis back in the 50s, and he created quite a breakthrough by making a transverse engine in the front with a front-wheel drive layout that left 80% of the car for passenger and cargo space. So you had this tiny little car, but it had an enormous amount of room inside, and that essentially revolutionized the way some of these small cars were built. It became quite a thing. And the Mini Cooper itself, another guy got involved with it, John Cooper, another revolutionary guy. Very lucky guy, in my opinion, because his dad had him working in a shop where he was putting together race cars before the war. Nice gig for a kid. And then he built watches or instruments during the war, probably for the bombers and whatnot, to go attack the Hun. Irony. And after the war, he and his dad started another race car company that found tremendous success. And the reason for that is they did something that they considered to be quite practical. I mean, they had to scavenge all these parts from, whatever was laying around after the war. There really wasn't much to work with, so they had to get what they could get. And they were using motorcycle engines in a very lightweight chassis. And why make that front engine? So they ended up putting the motor in the back. It was chain driven. All of a sudden, these cars are dominating on the tracks. And they came up, what they claim almost accidentally, or, through the need for practicality, with what was to become the ultimate race car design, continuing on to even this day. Before they did what they did, most race cars were front-engined rear drive. They made them rear-engined rear drive, and they just took it to the competition. The cars started doing very, very well. John Cooper himself was racing them, but the company got so successful he had to kind of tone it down and let other guys race for him. And other guys were people like Sterling Moss and Brabham and Bruce McLaren, who drove his cars to great success. They started dominating the Formula One circuit. Great stuff. Then they started dominating the Indy 500 race. So you really have to hand it to the guy. And in the early 60s, he got involved with Austin Mini, and he made what was essentially the Cooper, the Mini Cooper, and everyone went nuts for it because he took this small, compact, nicely laid out car and made it handle like nothing else. Absolutely incredible setup. It won the Monte Carlo Rally for a few years. Drivers on the street loved it, and it became a global institution. Truly one of the most iconic cars in world history. Up there with the Beetle, the '57 Chevy, that sort of thing. It was voted, in fact, to be the second most influential car of all time, the Mini, which really says something. Then there was that movie, The Italian Job, which brought Mini to America in the sense of people now knew what it was, and they started getting into it, and all of a sudden you'd see Minis popping up around Cleveland and Skokie, and, people lusting for them all around. So anyway, very, very cool stuff. Beautiful story, and it has created sort of an epic ongoing car company that BMW couldn't resist. It went from British Motor Corporation to, I don't know, there were like 4 or 5 different. You remember all the trouble the British car industry had. Everyone kept buying it and selling it and merging and not merging and getting taken by the government and liquidated and so on and so forth. There's British Leland and the Rover Group, and BMW then bought the Rover Group and Mini along with it in 1994, and the recipe for this car began at that point. Again, going back, this is a 2019 third generation facelifted car. One could argue it's become far more substantial than the original BMW Mini in 2001. It's a much different car from that in the sense of how it's equipped, its size, its ride, but it still does retain all the things that make Mini fantastic, and that is a small footprint, loads of driver involvement, a tremendous handling. It's like a go-kart for adults. And the people who love them and would have nothing else. And the people who don't, well, I guess they buy something else. This is an S, which means it's got the turbocharged motor, 189 horsepower factory. The guy who bought this one then went ahead and ordered a John Cooper Works package. Interestingly, there's our Cooper guy. John's son Mike started that company after his father's death. And it adds more to the car. So this thing is up to like 218 horsepower, higher torque rating, more free-flowing suspension, or sorry, free-flowing exhaust, tighter suspension. There you see the John Cooper Works badging on the cool-looking exhaust coming out the back. You get a little John Cooper badge, all that for your, couple of $1,000. So a very nice upgrade to the car. You can see good-looking wheels. This was a little bit controversial. For this third-gen facelift, they put Union jacks in the taillights. I mean, I don't know if they want to have these cars start coming with bulldogs when you buy them, and maybe a T-set, but for a German car, it sure is celebrating British patriotism quite a lot. And, you have to think about this for a minute. I mean, America is probably the most flag-waving country on earth. I mean, you can't go anywhere but people are waving American flags. I love it. Not everybody does. And Britain, had that to the same extent, but the Union Jack, in this sort of snowflake purple-haired world, has become a little bit more controversial than it was before. It stands for empire, it stands for nationalism and xenophobia, and it's very, very daring to me to have BMW put Union jacks in the taillights, and it's standard. It's not an option. This is on every Mini of this vintage. So they're running around England and Ireland with these things. They're running around Germany with these things. And, I don't know. You could consider it either very brave or maybe a bit too daring, but that's up to you. Anyway, let's get into this thing. So we can open up the hatch. Gone are the days when the Mini was known for its space, back in the 50s and 60s. Instead of that, it's pretty tight. But, here's the deal. If you need more space than this has got, I guess you could buy the Clubman, the bigger Mini, or the four-door, or, a Suburban. Buy whatever you want if you need more space. But if you want a MINI Cooper S Coupe, this is going to be much more about driving and performance and fun than it is about storage. So, of course, you can also put down the rear seats. That does add to the space impact. Forgive me for, doing these videos on the fly. I've got donuts for the guys today, my bags of crap, my license plate, all that other stuff that I have to carry around with me because I don't know why, but I do. And anyway, there it is. So there's the hatch in this thing. Very useful. Let's hang the license plate back up when we go for a drive so the police don't arrest me. And we'll keep going. Have a look under the hood. At nighttime, there's what are called puddle lights under here. So they gleam from underneath this door, an LED, and they light up a MINI logo beside the car. A little bit kitschy, but also kind of cool. And because MINI is all about customization and personalization, they offer a 3D printed accessory package thing where you can personalize all that stuff. So instead of saying MINI, the floodlights can say piss off, or let's have some tea, or oh, a fine day for a spot of football, or you know, whatever it is that the British types do. It could also just have your initials, I guess. But anyway, kind of a neat feature from MINI. One thing I will say is I've never successfully been able to open a MINI Cooper hood. It seems like every year they change the location of the yeah, I still can't. Still not able to do it. Makes me insane. You know, I look like a retard. I just keep trying to, and I think I found it. No, I have not, and I've probably knocked something loose. Oh, for the love of God. All right, I'm pausing the video and finding the hood release and starting again. All right, so the reason I couldn't find the damn thing is because BMW has now moved it to this double pull thing down here in the handle. So you have to pull the release twice instead of having a safety catch under the front of the trunk. Assholes. Sorry, well, anyway, they are what they are. Under here you've got your twin power turbo right out of the BMW world. In fact, the whole sort of suspension tuning on this car is right out of the 2 Series, which is kind of neat because that's a great platform. You can see this does have the tuning kit number stamp on the Cooper engine upgrades, and everything's sort of lovely there. Also has the upgraded, this is a big option, like almost $1,000 for these projector LED headlamps with cornering ability. So like an old town car, they light up either side of the car when you put your signal on. Cool stuff. And continuing with the go-kart theme, you know, there it is. What a great powerful little engine mated to a powerful little car, and it's just fun to drive around. This one has the 6-speed driver shiftable automatic. It's a nice setup. I think their manual gearbox in this car is a little bit clunky, so if I'm buying one, I'm probably opting for the automatic. I know that's kind of, you know, a very un-car guy-like thing to say, but you gotta say when one's better than the other. You got to go with what's better. Also has the panoramic sunroof. If we look at the sticker on this car, it had some $4,000 package that makes it have all kinds of upgraded stuff. You got the little S badges in the fenders, so people know you opted for the bigger motor. Thank God they resisted the urge to put the British flags on the mirrors and the roof, because that would be a bit much. And otherwise, you know, for a car that's very iconic and, you know, designed to be sort of visible, this is kind of a very nice mixture of in your face and subtle. I mean, you do have the British tail lamps, you do have the other little mini tuning bits, but all in all, the car does carry off a nice bit of subtlety that I do like. It's got silver white metallic paint that's nice. It has the keyless entry system, so you use MINI's giant key here. You can just press that guy to lock it. Also press it to open it. Probably have to give it a second. And everything works nice. Nothing else looks like a MINI inside. It really is its own thing. All of the switch gear, the knobs, the designs, 100% MINI Cooper, and that is something that I do like about the cars. Very high quality BMW. In fact, in this class, it probably does have the best overall use of materials, fit and finish, the way it goes together. It feels like a much more expensive car than it is inside. Not that it's cheap, but it does have an incredibly well-quality feel, and I guess we can thank BMW for that. In the back, you've got room for your couple of Canadians. I don't know how chipper they're going to be, but even with the seats pretty far back, you got some leg room, though it does appear they're going to have to fight over that single cup holder, so hopefully only one of them's a drinker. And otherwise, everything's going to be nice and proper back there. And because it does have that panoramic roof, you get some rear sunroof for the backseat passengers. All right, let's get in this thing and fire it up. They did change their switchgear a little bit for this year. They made these guarded rocker knobs a little bit bigger, probably easier for people to find. To start it up, we just put our foot on the brake and step that guy down. Let's get a little bit of AC going because the humidity is ridiculous. Who am I calling? Oh God, this could be bad. No, we'll hang that up. That was a pocket dial. I connected my phone to this thing earlier today, so I know he's going to call me back now, so it's going to wreck the video. But anyway, let's just get into this thing. Okay, so going into that incredibly unique dash design, switch design, all meant to make this a very unique car company, and it does achieve that quite well. You've got these guarded rockers that are right out of the 1950s and 60s, British style. You've got this great side sun visor that probably was on the original Minis as well. You've got lit up vanity mirrors to powder your nose. You've got a self-dimming mirror there with BMW's setup, and you got this great big, for the love of God, I got Peter trying to get out. Everyone's up in my rump today. What? Oh, you're photographing. For the love of God. One likes to perform their work without interruption, but one always doesn't get to do that around anywhere. Okay, so here is a nice big, you can vent it, you can then put it back. That is a fantastic big power sunroof that you're really going to enjoy using if you're a sunroof person. If you're like most other people, you'll never know it has one, myself included. It's just not something that I tend to use, but some people out there do. Anyway, there it is, nice and shaded. You get into Minis. Look at the dust on this. God, the detailers are just... Oh, it's 2019. It's clean. We don't have to do much work. Anyway, you can see it has Mini's little gauge pod there. They've updated it for this year. Used to look more like Mickey Mouse ears than it does today. This is your fuel bar graph on the right. You've got your tach over there on the left. A little bit smaller than I'd like, to be honest, but it's there. Your 160 mile an hour speedo. This guy has opted for putting yet 2 more British flags looking at you. It's a accessory phone mount, so you can put your iPhone up there staring at you. Probably nice if you're one of those people, but I don't like my phone looking at me when I'm driving. But anyway, 2 more British flags up there. Then you've got Mini's sort of big infotainment system here with the LED surround that changes according to what setting you're in, what engine compartment. So there it is. This is the kind of modern snowflake safety stuff that drives me crazy. Mini knows that I've opened the hood, or I should say BMW. I'm sure this is a BMW message. Obviously, I'm not qualified to be under the hood of my own car, so it's going to give me a message telling me, hey, the car's been driven. It's not cold under there. Don't open a radiator cap because it might burn you. Well, no shit. I mean, can we not just accept that people know these things and carry on with life? Do the lawyers have to rule the entire world? I guess they do. So, and now we've got another warning screen. So thank you, lawyers, for creating the world where you have to do away with nag screens every time you want to just drive your car to the store. Anyway, we're listening to a country music station. That can't be good. Let's see what we got. If I'm going to listen to country music, I prefer to listen to the sort of whingy, whiny broads who cry about, how terrible men are and how they're, doomed to ride in the back of the pickup truck. And just to me, that's better stuff. So if I'm going to listen to music this morning, we're going to try and find something else. Let's see. How the hell do we get there? That's volume. Let's go through, see what we got. Find a nice rock and roll station. We're getting there. There we go. There's one. We have Fleetwood Mac. Yeah, I can live with that. That's nice. That's peaceful. It could be Stevie Nicks, but who cares? What's the difference? Anyway, this all works with your Bluetooth, so you can, work it that way, or you can, work it the normal way. And It's all nice, very modern BMW style electronics in there with the Mini Touch. This giant thing in the older Minis was the speedometer, and even in the refreshed BMW Mini, many of them was this giant speedometer. I always thought that was a bit too over the top, you know. I mean, I got it on the original Mini. It was an original styling feature, but when they adopted it for this modern retro Mini, I thought, yeah, you know, come on, that's going a bit far. But anyway, you can get into all your different things. Again, BMW style with the joystick button. It's essentially a modern iDrive. If I go into media, we get there. Let's go into the optional mode. So over here on this rocker panel, you could change the setting of the suspension. I don't know why it's not giving me the. We're going to menu. Let's just start that way. See what happens when I press it here. All right, why isn't it going into my mode here? This is just irritating. It was doing it just fine for me before my Mini. Oh, for the love of God. I don't know. This is why I'm cut out for 1983 Cadillacs and not modern cars. I need some snowflake to help me set this thing up. But anyway, look, you can get through it all here. Here's vehicle settings, lighting, door key, intelligent safing, configure green, configure ventilation, your system settings, your vehicle status, your tire pressures, that sort of thing. I don't see any listed, but I'm sure they're there. Engine oil level, you know, so on and so forth. Drive technology in action. Sport displays. There we go. That's what I was actually looking for earlier, because then you could change between green. Here you see when I go up, we've got sport, mid, green, depending on how you want to drive. And here's your horsepower and torque display where you can keep it on when you're in track mode, which part of that John Cooper Works thing is giving you this little dongle, works by Bluetooth and can set the car up in a track mode. All right, so I'm going to open the door so you can hear this. I'm going to rev it up a little bit. Actually, let me get myself in neutral. There we go. And now we double click this guy and we should hear a change in the engine. And some popping. Yeah, and there you go. So what that does is little flappers are actuated and open up the exhaust, puts the exhaust into track mode where it frankly isn't legal for the street, and we care about that, and makes all that little popping and rattling and, you know, all that cool stuff, and does open up the horsepower as well. So pretty neat. Get the windows back up a little bit, but we may try to hear that as we go for a drive. Anyway, you get the point. There it is. You can play with all that crap and probably have some fun with it, more than I will. Because we're in track mode now, our traction control is off, and it's ready to start lighting up the racetrack or the Walmart parking lot. You have this very nice automatic climate control, digital display, lovely stuff. USB down there, cup holders, so on and so forth. You know, all very lovely. Here's the book set that came with it. We've got an extra key. We've got the John Cooper Works certificate of authenticity. Like if you bought a autographed photo of John McEnroe, you've got your books. All very nice. And of course your window sticker, which I always like to see with the car. Open that up. And there you can see some of the stuff it has. It has that MINI Cooper S standard. Then you've got the signature trim, which was $4,000. They're not playing around with that. Gives you the panoramic, heated seats, climate control, driving assist. I had that this morning. I had a collision warning when I tailgated a guy on the interstate who was being a jerk. 17-inch wheels. There's your sport seats for $250 and your that was the storage package for $250, and your LED headlights with cornering for $750. You also got park distance control, and I believe you got a rear view camera. You do. Very nice stuff. And I've got my bag tag in the way of it. But all right, let's just go for a spin. God, this guy loved his accessories. Look at that. You get MINI Cooper S shoulder patches or pads. All right, and because the sun is in full force, I'm going to pause it here so we don't have to go down the road with too much brightness. I'll show you. That's just obnoxious. Yeah, too much. So I'm going to go down the road. When I take a right turn, we'll pick up again. God help you. All right, so I've moved the shifter over to this area, which gives us sport. So now we're in sport automatic mode. If I moved it one more time, I'd be in manual, but with one hand, it's too much. You can just hear the rapid shifts. The sound from that exhaust is awesome. And this is what makes the Mini so much fun. I mean, it's not necessarily the fastest car in its class, or even the best handling, although it's pretty close. But it probably is the most fun to drive. I mean, it is just... It can wake up your commute to work in a way that you don't think is possible. It'll have you zipping in and around traffic, driving like a hooligan, reliving your youth a little bit. And there's not a damn thing wrong with that. I mean, God knows we gotta have a little fun in this world with all the crap that's going on all the time. I think the whole media industrial complex is just designed to make everybody miserable, so we got to get our joys where we can. I've got little paddle flippity flips, which I suppose I could use. This one would downshift. Now we're going to be in full. You hear all the popping and cracking. We've got full manual mode there. I can shift. It's telling me my speed limit. I bet it is. Anyway, you get the point. I mean, you can start flinging this thing around the roads, around a racetrack, here, there, everywhere, and having a blast with it. And that's also what made the original Mini Cooper S so much fun. So there it is. This one is available, Autohaus of Naples, on the web at autohausnaples.com. You can give the guys a call at 239-263-8500. The lovely Marianne will be back soon doing videos, I'm sure, so don't beat the crap out of me too much. I'm just here to help out, trying to do a kind turn, so go easy. I'm fragile, and there it is otherwise. So thank you very much for having a look. Appreciate it. We'll see you with the next one. Take care.